Hello, my name is Igor, and today we will be learning about the present perfect tense. Present perfect. And with any tense, we have personal pronouns, both singular and plural. Singular meaning one person or thing, and plural is more than one person. So here we have I, repeat, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. And if you want to make sentences with the present perfect, what we need to do, we need to follow a general structure. So we have this, first we have the subject, then we have the verb to have, and we add a past participle, which is a past version of a verb. And when we have, what the past participle is if we have, for example, the verb walk. Little like this. If we have walk, the past participle will be, we add E and D. ED, so it becomes walked. Like this, walked. But I'll get back to that in just a moment. First, it's very important to understand why we use this present perfect. And there are 5 main reasons, so I'll just explain 2 today because it might be too much to handle at first, so don't worry. We'll just focus on these 2 reasons. The first being it's an action that took place sometime in the past and is continuing in the present. And one way we can visualize this, or we can think about it, is if we have a timeline. So imagine this is we have all the tenses within this time, and you are here in the present. Then we have the future, and going back, it's the past. And if it happened sometime in the past and continued into the present, that is one way in which we use this present perfect tense. So one example is, I have lived in Serbia since 2011. So it's a little more complicated, or you could say I have lived in China since whatever time you have lived there for, or any place. You just replace the name of the place with the place that you have lived in and the year. Or we have another example. We have had the same car for 5 years. So if you have the same car for 5 years, you still have that car. It happened in the past when you decided to buy that car, and you still have it now. So that's what past perfect is all about. Or at least that's one way in which we use it. And the second way that I'm going to explain is, it's an action that was completed in the very recent past. The very recent past. But don't pay attention to these sentences too much. That's just explanation. Here we have, of course, the examples. So first is, I have just finished my work. I have just finished my work. And the second is I have just eaten. So you have just finished an action. You just completed an action. And that's the second way in which we use past perfect tense. Present perfect tense, sorry. So present perfect tense, it can be used 5 different ways, but today we're just working on those 2. So an action that has happened in the past that is continuing in the present, and an action that has just finished in the recent past. And then let's look at two simple examples for present perfect tense. Getting back to the verb to walk, with your pronouns here. I have walked. So I have walked. Repeat that. You have walked. He has walked. She has walked. It has walked. And with plural here, we have walked, you have walked, and they have walked. And you can see a very similar structure here. The sentence walked is the same everywhere here. The pronouns, you could remember we had these personal pronouns, which I showed you earlier. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. And then all that is changing is the verb to have turning into has here, and it becomes has for only he, she, and it, and everywhere else it's just have. I have, you have, he has, she has, it has. So just with he, she, and it, it's has. Has walked. And here it's have walked, they have walked. The end as well. And to show you one more example of the present perfect tense is this verb to speak. To speak, it's an irregular verb, which means, unlike with a regular verb walk, when it becomes that past participle, when you add this ed at the end, walk becomes walked. That's not the case with speak, with the verb to speak. Speak becomes spoken. The past participle of speak is spoken. And here we have the same structure, just with this irregular verb spoken. So let's repeat this. Let's go over this. I have spoken. You have spoken. He has spoken. She has spoken. It has spoken. We have spoken. You have spoken. And they have spoken. Okay. And that's all that we will be focusing on for today. But just before we leave, we want to go through it one more time. Make sure that we learn everything and remember everything. And so let's start from the beginning with your personal pronouns. we have I, you, he, she, it. We, you, and they. Okay, remember that. And what tense are we doing? We are doing the present perfect tense. Let me write down tense as well. You know this word. Present perfect tense. And again, what are the reasons that we use present perfect tense? The two reasons that we have learned today. The first one being an action that has happened in the past that is continuing in the future, that is continuing in the present. So an action that has happened in the past that is continuing in the present. So from the past into the present, and see, we have our timeline here. And example is, I have lived in Serbia since 2011. Or, we have had the same car for 5 years. And then the second reason that we have learned why to use present perfect is an action that was completed in the very recent past, and or simply in the recent past. So the two examples are, I have just finished my work. I have just finished my work. Again, notice have, the verb to have is here. And I have just eaten. Eaten again is irregular verb. To eat becomes eaten. So I have just eaten. Have just, have just. That's the similarity here. When it's plural, when we're using the pronoun he, she, and it becomes has. Instead of have, it's going to become has. Like in this example here with walked, we have has walked. We're going to do the same thing here with eaten. If we say instead of I have just eaten, we use the personal pronoun he, for example, then it will become he has just eaten. Or she, for example, she has just eaten. Or it has just eaten. But we'll just focus on what we've learned today and go in depth for next lesson. I don't want to stress you too much for this in the beginning. And all of these examples which we have done today are called the affirmative. We're using the affirmative. Maybe you can't see it that well. Let me do it again. Let me write it down. So this is what we have focused on today, is the affirmative. And then tomorrow, or for next lesson, we will be doing the negative form of sentences. Negative. And after that, we'll do interrogative. Or the question form. Interrogative or the question form of these sentences for present perfect tense. Present perfect tense. Okay, and that'll be all for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.